Like every time I do that clap, it hurts my ears like really badly. I feel like this is pretty decent. I'm hoping that I don't mess this up at all. All right, that should be decent. Got plenty of space here. Here's a dog I'm gonna put up right now. Why did I put up a dog?
I really don't know.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to, I would say, a brand new video. So recently, I've actually been getting a lot of recommendations from both YouTube as well as other people to make a video on this. And the video is basically how to get ready for the new school year. Personally, for me, I really haven't seen that many videos on if people are going back to school online, hybrid, or completely in person. I haven't seen many videos dissecting each and every single situation, whether you're going as a hybrid student, going as a completely online student, or going completely in person, which is partially based on both the country that you live in as well as the state you possibly live in if you're in the United States. This video is basically catered towards people that are either in the United States or people that are going back to school within the next month or so, because this video is actually getting filmed in August. And this is basically dissecting what I feel might be the best tips and tricks for people that are either going back to school completely online, going back to school completely hybrid, or going back to school completely in person. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on bell notifications so that I can actually go to Subway this week.
Because I really do want that Italian BMT from Malad.
Breaking down, and it's actually kind of simple when you actually talk about in-person, hybrid, and online learning. In-person learning is basically how many people are categorized as before the whole illness happened, basically last year. You would go into the building, you would participate in your set schedule of classes, and you would have that during the entire semester or during the entire school year. Hybrid learning and online learning are where it gets a little finicky. Online learning is basically when you're not in a classroom and you don't have a sort of set time. It all depends on both the class that you take as well as the certain school that you're actually attending at the same time, because some classes you actually have to set a certain period of time during the day where you actually have to sit down at a desk so you can actually get all the assignments that you possibly can done for either that certain subject or that certain topic or certain class. And there's some classes that I personally have taken where I don't have a set schedule and I can work both freely on my own personal time, and I can actually move ahead on certain classes or certain courses that I think or I feel are either a lot easier or I don't need to put that much time or effort into them. And hybrid classes is, I would say, the sweet spot in the middle. It's basically the best of both worlds. It's literally like a caramel macchiato at Starbucks with some extra
soy milk.
Do I know what that means? No.
I'm just
Giving a random Starbucks recommendation right now.
But basically, it's sort of bringing those two worlds together. I remember my high school actually did this for the last semester or the last year or so, and I'm pretty sure they're also doing it this year. It's also dependent on what is going to happen within the next month or two, depending on sort of what's happening in the world. But basically, hybrid learning is basically both online learning for a certain period of time as well as in-person learning during a certain period of the week. And transitioning sort of into the tips with in-person, the first thing that I recommend, and I actually have I keep hitting my chest so much. First tip that I recommend is to not overpack for anything, basically when it comes to both books as well as school supplies in general. Now, I know it might be kind of overwhelming for anybody that's either going back to school or is really excited to actually go back to school and actually be in a physical environment when it comes to either your education or just seeing your friends that you probably haven't even seen within the last year or so. But literally having that sort of headspace where you have to put everything in bulk, literally either the day before or the night before, can really be extremely grueling, and it could be a huge headache. I could basically give you an example. An example would be when I was actually in high school, and literally I would cram every single thing literally the night before rather than the week before. I would literally have everything literally scattered.
I feel like I said literally 3 or 4 times in that single sentence.
But I would have everything scattered around my house. I would have pencils downstairs. I would
I'm trying not to say literally.
I would have paper almost every single where that I could actually be located in my actual house, and my brain would be scattered in different sort of places or certain sections, such as what would I have for this certain class, what would I have for this certain class, yada yada yada. Basically being scattered and having a different headspace for literally 4 or 5 different subjects that I would have to do within the next day or so. And just having that headspace, being extremely overwhelmed, was kind of not the best scenario that I would put myself in. I would say in order to get ready, I would do the same thing that I would do if I would either get a haircut or if I would either like prepare for a big meeting. I would prepare a week or two in advance. I would get my haircut a week or two before even going to school, like many other people in the world actually might do at the same time. I would basically get the same thing done when it came to school supplies, when it came to books. Basically, if I would have any other supplies that I would need for school, an example would be pens, pencils, books, notebooks, any other school supplies that I would possibly need. But I would have it all compact within a singular week. I would say a month prior or even 2 to 3 weeks prior, just so that I can have some levi room so I can actually grasp myself personally. I would say the best thing would possibly be to not overwhelm yourself, because what I learned when I was actually growing up, every single person has sort of the same emotion at some point in scenario. You can be in a room with 200 to 300 people and at least one other person can feel the same emotion as you at the same time. So having that thought in my head at that time, I knew that if I was confused or if I was nervous about something, I would know that somebody next to me would also be nervous or confused or wouldn't be the best to talk to during a certain period of time because they're nervous or confused about something. I would compare myself, but I wouldn't compare myself to an extreme where I would latch on a person or someone's personality. Just comparing to other people just to make sure that I was grounded and to make sure that I wouldn't overthink anything. Second set, we're going to talk about hybrid learning. There's a lot of people that I know that have the same schedule as me. I remember before the I was about to say the P word. Before the
illness.
I remember a year or a whole semester and a half prior, I actually did hybrid learning. What my actual schedule accounted for, I had between 3 and 4 classes in person where I would actually go on campus and I would sit at a desk and I would literally take notes for each class. What I learned from actually having that is having a schedule and having a planner would probably be the best beneficial thing for anybody that is either hybrid learning or online learning. And I'm actually going to transition from hybrid as well as to online learning when talking about this as well. Hybrid and online learning basically intertwine with one another. An example, I remember when I had hybrid classes, I would also have the same deal or the same scenario when I would have completely online classes for an entire semester. If I didn't have a schedule or a planner specifically towards my actual schedule or the classes that I was taking, I wouldn't be able to lay out a certain amount of time for a certain scenario or a certain class that I would be taking. An example would be that my accounting class was honestly probably the most difficult class that I've ever taken. Personally, I would have to take a longer set amount of time in order to do
every single assignment for my accounting class.
Versus if I have sort of an elective class, I would literally take about 1 to possibly 2 hours for both my assignments, as well as reading up on any chapters I would need in my actual class or lecture. Having a planner and having a set schedule is definitely something I personally recommend for anybody that is taking either an online or a hybrid class. Having a planner, whether you're in middle school or even high school, is probably one of the best, I would say, investments for you to have, because like I said earlier, it goes in one ear and outside the other. I have my journal. I'm still doing it. And I actually have my notes that I take every single day of things that I need to get done for the actual day or the actual week. Okay, so this portion of the video is basically what I personally think is my favorite, or what I recommend for people if they are confused about online learning, hybrid learning, or even in-person learning. This is just my personal preference. Personally, I feel like I was the most engaged when I was hybrid learning. Out of all of them, online learning is more hands-off when it comes to certain sections. It's a lot more teaching yourself when it comes to completely online learning. In person, I feel, is the best for people that are either interested in topics or even majors that are a lot more on hands. As an example, construction, engineering, agriculture, science, environmental science, or anything that has to do with the environment in general. If you're somebody like me, I would say you would have to get the best of both worlds. I personally think that you can't have one without the other. You sort of have to have a yin with a yang. That's sort of my case when it comes to this. I really do enjoy having completely online classes. I feel like the biggest drawback would have to be not seeing a physical person, or not seeing or engaging with people on a daily or consistent basis when it comes to learning the certain material and getting help from people that you are actually communicating with whether that be at a university, community college, or even a professor. It's very one-sided and you're literally looking at a monitor. I would say you can't communicate with your professor vocally unless it's through an email when it comes to online. So I feel like that's the biggest drawback versus online to in person. I just know from doing online, I can get a lot of stuff done more versus when I was in person. I remember when I was actually in my first accounting class, and I actually did fail my first accounting class. I was very terrible when it came to all the bookkeeping or even the accounts payable, accounts receivable. Being able to dissect that a lot more and actually having my free time and actually getting tutored online was a lot more beneficial for me. It's a lot different for a lot of people. This is just my personal preference, but I was actually able to get a B on my actual accounting exam versus getting a D, or basically a low C at that point, versus a low B on my actual accounting class. I really haven't seen that many people make videos on the difference or what people need to prepare for the actual fall semester. So I just wanted to spread this video for anybody that is actually a little confused, and I hope someone actually found this extremely helpful if anybody actually reads the end of this video. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I love each and every single one of you guys, and yeah, I'll see you all
At the nearest subway.
both hybrid and online learning literally entwined with one.
Blah.
But I've literally been in every single person's shoes except for people that are older than me. That's an example that I'm getting old, because that's actually my alarm clock to go to sleep in the next half hour. That was not planned at all. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like extremely tired as well because I actually have to go to work tomorrow.
I look stupid.
You can already tell my eyes. Like literally, I'm looking at myself in the mirror in the lens right now. Like, I'm extremely tired right now. I'm probably gonna go to bed as soon as I'm done recording this and syncing this with the actual video.